Hello everyone. Has the pressure of perfection ever stopped you from making bold decisions or moving forward? It did for me. And on my journey as a leader, I've recognized that effective and efficient leadership is all rooted in our personal traits. Not only from our personal traits, but also from our personal experiences. So today I will be talking a little bit about my own story on becoming a leader. And I grew up in the Soviet Union, where the pressure of perfection and relentless focus on achievement were not just encouraged, they were a demand. It doesn't matter if in sport, in school, or even in society, you had to fit rigid standards to succeed. And that was the cornerstone that actually really created my personal traits, who I am. On one side, I learned very important skills, determination, or being self-motivated, or even to have really strong discipline. But on the other hand, the environments that I grew in did not really prepare us for the uncertainty. And my career, as it was planned, started as a law student. But the life took me on a very different course. The world was my new home. The expat life was my next step. And 7 international moves in 20 years. And interestingly enough, with every move, I had to make it work not only for me, but I also had to make it work for my family. And there are some really interesting experiences that actually shaped me, who I am, and contributed additionally to the personal traits that I had that formed my foundation in early years. For example, in Japan, my 2-year-old son suddenly started speaking Japanese as a first language. Talk about unexpected. So I actually had to learn Japanese just to be able to communicate with my own son. And imagine now moving to China, where all your favorite apps, Facebook, WhatsApp, were no longer accessible. So I actually had to navigate and adapt through all the restrictions and find still a way to be able to communicate to my family. So that was my Asian experience, and my moves were back and forth from Asia to Europe, from Europe to Asia. And interestingly enough, because I had quite a strong background in Asian cultures, I ended up having a reverse culture shock coming back to the Western society. And I have to admit, I did bow at the cashier the first day I arrived back to Germany. The cashier froze and all the people behind me laughed. So I realized that when you have this international experience, you actually not only have to adjust to a new culture, the culture where you brought by your job or just experience, but you also sometimes have to readjust to the culture where you already know very well. So all those moves actually shaped me again from a very different perspective. And I learned to be more adaptable. I had to build resilience. And the lesson that I really learned from international moves is you have to be prepared for unexpected. You cannot really plan because nothing, mostly when you just come to a new country, will go according to the plan. So all those skills, let's say being able to adapt to a new culture, building the tolerance and accepting the culture as it is without high expectations, added up to the personal traits and the foundation that I already had. So now the interesting part was, and that's why we're here today, we're talking about leadership, is when it came to building my own business, the EdTech company, somehow it was very difficult for me to bring all my experiences that I thought were already there into the business environment. And I found myself still reverting to the same pattern of trying to be perfect, and was focused more on the operational excellence rather than to have the strategic vision and really empower the team and be more adaptable myself. So it was becoming more and more difficult in leading a team, and I've noticed that the team members at some point lost motivation, the innovation was dropping. So something was happening that actually was influenced by me as a leader. And there were two really interesting examples that showed me, let's say, opened up my eyes and let me see things from a very different perspective. Back in 2017, my colleague and I were at the Frankfurt Book Fair. And at that time, we were talking about bringing innovative technology, augmented reality into the publishing industry. And we walked around quite a lot of stands and talked to publishing houses. And they were very interested in innovation and thinking, wow, that's a fantastic idea. Yes, this is the current trend, is going to be the future. But there was one publishing house I would never forget. The guys really listened to us for the 10 minutes that we were giving a pitch. And then they said a phrase that we published our books for over 100 years this way. We're publishing our books this way. And we will continue publishing books this way. That was very interesting because it really struck in me that how those people are not willing to adapt to the constantly evolving world. But still somehow it didn't really project in my leadership skills, I have to say. And, but then COVID hit. And everything that we planned in business, at that time we had a mobile application for the education industry, and we really thought that that would be the next way of how the students could learn. But COVID changed a lot of things, and we actually had to act extremely quickly to sustain operational. So there was no way for perfection anymore in everything that we did. And interestingly enough, as we were focused more on surviving and trying to find a way how we can pivot with the product, with the way go to market, this somehow opened a very different door, because suddenly we realized that good enough is better than perfect. So those two lessons were somehow already changing my way as a leader and really bringing me, even in the business environment, to the point of being more adaptable and being more resilient to change. However, I guess not deep enough, because it still added up more stress. And I noticed that at one point I was on the edge of a burnout. So something had to change. I realized that I had to find a way, what made it really work when I traveled around the world with a small family, and somehow it did work. I made it happen for not only for me, but also for them. But what has to happen in the business environment, why I could not really adjust? So, and as everything that was happening in the business world was eventually affecting my well-being, I realized that I really have to find a way to make it work for me. So I started studying psychology. And I found this fantastic quote that I was thinking on it for quite some time, that the tree is strong as its roots. But eventually dawned on me that the roots are my foundation, my personal traits, and also my experience that I had for so many years. But the roots of the tree don't have to be perfect. So all I had to do is to let go perfection and go with the flow. Yes, have a strategic vision if we talk about business, but let the life take its course. being open to change. So the formula was very clear. Let it go, being open to change, and take it from there. But interesting thing also that I've learned that resilience and adaptability are not just the skills, they're the mindset. And the mindset is the cornerstone of how you lead people, how you empower people to do things in the constantly changing environment. So also, on the other hand, if we talk about mindset, you also had to find a way to come to a balanced mindset that it does not affect your leadership, or does not affect your well-being, or does not affect the team. So my learnings were that leadership is all about three simple things. It's the adaptability, it's the resilience to change, and it's also a balanced mindset. Because you cannot direct the winds, but you can adjust the sails. Thank you.